fuel suddenly surfaced at filling stations, at certain filling stations. Now, we have to truck fuel by road. We have to move fuel by road in trucks, and that's a lot of money because the trucks are powered by diesel and you know diesel is very expensive. So now the depot owners are saying that NNPC is being the sole importer of fuel. That how much are they getting it? Instead of 148, is now 170, 175. Some are even saying as much as 190, 200 from the depots. So that if they get it from the depot at 200, that is including transportation and other logistics, that how can they sell at the regulated price of 179? So a lot of these things are, to blame for this situation.
Dario, let's look at the claims by Ipman that the depots are, responsible for the scarcity, and of course the excuses that the economic factors is that the landing cost of these products are far more expensive than how much they could be sold at the pumps in the filling stations. What can government do to address the situation at this time, especially as we're looking at the Yuletide holidays coming in the next few weeks?
It's worrisome that towards Christmas, New Year, we're having this situation. It's unfortunate that we found ourselves once again in this mess of fuel scarcity, or should we say looming fuel scarcity, because
it's already
still looming. It's looming actually reality. I'll tell you that I drove into a filling station yesterday around 2 p.m. bought fuel, no queue, and I bought at 175.
And what part of Lagos is that?
Lagos, Ikorodu. But today, this morning, the whole place dry.
Yeah.
And while I was on my way down here now, fuel stations are selling and there are queues. So that's why I would say looming. I have this feeling that this scarcity is actually man-made. And you have this very strong feeling that it's man-made, and if government will rise up and do the needful, it may disappear. The discourse about fuel subsidy will continue until we find a government with the right political will to do what needs to be done. It's not as if we don't know what to do. But we've been having government, even people who campaigned and say when they come, they are going to solve the problem around fuel subsidy, either to be or not to be. They got into office and continue with the status quo because something somewhere is not adding up. The current administration have told us that fuel subsidy is injurious because it helps people take fuel away from this country to the neighboring country to sell at profits. So what do we do in that situation? We remove fuel subsidy. But what happens when we remove fuel subsidy? Price will go up. Are Nigerians ready to understand the need for the removal at a time like this when your salary can barely last you 1 week?
For those earning salaries.
Or when breadwinners of families have lost their jobs? Or when the exchange rate has made businesses moribund?
Yeah.
These are very crucial. The issue surrounding fuel in Nigeria should not be treated politically.
It's actually the live wire of the economy.
It should not be treated politically. We must avoid injecting politics into it because we all know the truth. It's a two-way thing. And both options revolve around fuel subsidy. Remove it. Let it stay. Either way, there will be uproar. And Nigerians and leaders of Nigeria must make up their mind
on which way to
go. And save us from this continuous menace of year in, year out of fuel scarcity when we can end it once and for all. If we know what to do, and we are ready to do it.
Emeka, let's look at the impact or the implications of these long queues if they persist for the next few weeks. Dari was mild in saying that it's a looming crisis. Let's not make it look
the crisis has landed.
Let's not be sensational about it. Okay. But if this continues for the next few weeks, heading into the holidays, Christmas, which is just few weeks from now, what are the impacts that this will have on the social well-being of Nigerians?
Oh, of course, a lot of things. The pains that Nigerians will go through are, better imagined. It will be excruciating pains because, of course, Yuletide, we like to travel. Nigerians like to travel. You're even talking of the issue of insecurity. That is one problem. Then the state of the roads is another problem. They're not getting fuel. Of course, transporters, true to type, will pass the cost to the commuters. So, what are you going to get in the end? Yes, people who desperately want to travel will cough up huge sums of money to make their trips. But at the end of the day, what does it say about our social fabric? All of these things will still worsen the situation of the average Nigerian. So definitely, one way to deal with this issue is local production. Local production. Whether the government decides to hands off the downstream sector and say, okay, it will leave it to private players, that's a decision Nigerians are waiting for. Because you have four refineries and none of them is working. You've put so much hope on Dangote refinery coming on stream before the Buhari administration ends, and they're still trying to get the project running. So it's going to come on stream sometime next year, according to the promoters of the project. Then the smaller modular refineries, we see here of hiccups and all that. Some of their promoters say the theft of the crude that should be coming to them has hampered their production, has hampered their ability to actually meet their targets, to meet their production schedules. So where exactly are we going to situate this problem? NNPC is the sole importer of fuel. Then the foreign exchange is not helping matters. So the dollar is still at a level that makes a lot of things so expensive. I believe before government decides on full deregulation, which will really upend a lot of things, government should ensure that it defeats those tapping the pipelines, so that local refineries can produce. Yes, if government is going to bring the state refineries, but it says it's going to bring Port Harcourt refinery back on stream very soon, we hope it will be sooner than expected. If it can get the refineries running, at least 2 refineries running, then maybe we can cut off a lot of things in the sector that revolve around the dollar. Because look at diesel. We said, okay, let's deregulate diesel. Look at where it has landed us. Almost 1,000 naira per liter. At the end of the day, you are moving fuel, you're moving petroleum products all the way to places, from Lagos, from Warri, to places as far as Maiduguri, Kano, and the rest of them, Kebbi, Sokoto, and you have to pay bridging claims. So in paying those bridging claims, the cost just keeps going on and on and on to the buyer, the ordinary Nigerian. So if you remove some of the bottlenecks, if there is a way government can defeat the vandalism of, like I said again, it's cheaper. Moving petroleum products through the pipelines, it's far cheaper. If government,
using vehicles.
Yeah, of course. If government can find that solution, I don't know how they're going to do it, and deal with it, then I believe this issue will be better managed.
Dari, before we move to other discussion, what should Nigerians now, talking about the reality, it's the reality staring us in the face now, how should Nigerians brace up for the likely impact of this in the next coming weeks?
I pray we won't have to brace up. I still pray it will go away.
But if wishes were horses?
I still wish it is a threat that will not hurt us. But those are mere wishes. If things continue like this, we'll have to struggle for fuel again. And how do you how do you pacify a man whose mother was killed by the tiger? It's a difficult task. How do you tell Nigerians to say, well, prepare, scarcity is coming? knowing fully well what the impact will be. Already, transporters are having a field day. Out there at K2, I was coming in, I had the Korodu 500. It used to be 200 weeks back. Now it's 500 from K2. You can imagine other places like that. That's within the metropolis. Yes. People who want to travel
for the holidays. Reunite with their family and all that.
Are in schools. They want to come home. Businesses who want to wrap up for the year. Events here and there, all over the place. All will be needing fuel. So I would, rather than tell Nigerians to brace up, I want to turn to the authorities and say, please,
work.
Do whatever you can. Let this COP pass over us.
Absolutely.
Because I want to say again, Ipman says it is the depot. We are yet to hear from the depot. Not too long ago.
The depot says NNPC.
But not too long ago, NNPC said there is enough fuel imported for Nigerians.
But the depot said NNPC is not giving them enough supply.
So, between the NNPC
and the depot,
let
them find the solution.
That's one vital part of this. Neither NNPC nor the depots have told us that we don't have fuel.
So that means there is enough supply.
There is enough supply. If it is the distribution channel that is not the problem, solve it. Nigerians will have to make use of fuel.
Absolutely.
Ipman, the marketers, should also participate in the reconciliatory moves, whatever they also have to do to make the depot come up with a solution that will ease their own movement. Then the idea of trying to create artificial scarcity just to jack up price because it's utility. Everybody should do away with it.
Yeah.
Consider Nigerians first. Let's have a
well, of course, that's a solemn appeal from here to all the stakeholders involved. Nigerians would want to celebrate the holidays without having to worry about the fuel issues. That's the least we could expect at this time of the year. Well, let's talk about something very interesting that happened earlier today. Call it theatrics, call it passion or patriotism. One thing you cannot separate from Governor Aminu Bello Masari is his calm and gentle demeanor. The governor of Katsina State, while presenting a state's 288.63 billion 2023 appropriation bill, which is tagged the budget of transition before the Katsina State House of Assembly on Tuesday, became emotional and could not hold back tears, as it would be his last time presenting a budget before the House as governor of the state. Well, let's share with you this report and talk more about it.
This will be the last time that Governor Aminu Bello Masari will be presenting a budget like this as the state governor. The presentation started with a summary of the last budget, touching on key areas of its implementation and successes recorded in the last few months.
140 billion, 538 million, 930
The 2023 budget is lower than that of 2022 by over 34 billion naira. Is structured with the recurrent expenditure taking 46.2% of the budget.
Sectors of the state government, as a result of the 2023 budget will provide adequate allocation of funds to the priority sectors of the state government as follows: environment, 31 billion, 748 million, 394,000.
Season is almost coming to an end, but let's revisit Governor Masari's 8th year as governor of Katsina State. It's been a challenging one, but of course I think Governor Masari has weathered the storm at least commendably.
Well, that will be left to the people of the state to say, because they have suffered so much from insecurity in the state, attacks by bandits, kidnapping. We remember the Kankara schoolboys who were kidnapped, and bandits have generally made life unbearable for citizens of the state, like citizens of some other states around
the south,
yes,
northwest.
So we remember there was a time the governor, when the Kankara schoolboys were kidnapped, the governor shed tears. In 2018, when he was meeting with flood victims, he shed tears again. Now, he has shed tears again. Yes, we may say, okay, it presents an image of a compassionate leader, an amiable leader, oh, I'm one of you. But you see, we need leaders who will be serious with the issues, deal with the issues. It's not just about shedding tears. If you are shedding tears, then what do you want the ordinary man to do? It's the ordinary man that will shed tears, come to you, and then you find quick solutions. So beyond shedding tears, I think, beyond the theatrics, I think there should be that devotion to finding solutions to problems. And Governor Masari is living on a note where insecurity is still a major problem. Why he broke down and shed tears, I don't know. But the people surely deserve better leadership.
Well, Dare, it's called this budget, the 2023 appropriation bill, a budget of transition. Does that bring one of the reasons why the emotion came up during the presentation, or perhaps you feel he believes that he could have done better during his tenure in office?
Yeah, we won't be able to peruse Dr. Masari's mind to actually know what was going on at that moment. But you just said something about a budget of transition. He named it a budget of transition, knowing fully well that he is transiting, having done his best for the people of his state. He's going to leave office. Someone else will come in and business of government will continue. Government Masari chose to shed tears should not take away the fact that he has really served his people. Shedding tears is not a sign of inability
or weakness.
It is compassion. We are humans, and whatever we do, we must not take away that humanity from us. You see, here is a man who has been in politics probably from 1999. Was in the House of Reps.
Absolutely.
2 times or thereabout.
He was the Speaker of the National
Became the Speaker of the National Assembly. In the last 8 years, he's been the governor. He has spent so long a time, over 20 years, within the corridors of power. Now, today, and note, he's not one of those governors who is transiting into the National Assembly. He has not picked the ticket of his party to go to the Senate. So obviously he's going into political retirement. So he's presenting a budget. Looking at it, this is the last time I'll do it. It's just like a man giving his daughter away in
marriage.
Your control over that lady reduces tremendously. So he knows that he will no longer be in a position to call some shots. Possibly, he will look at it that, there are certain things I wish I had enough time to still do that could make him shed tears. That's love for his people. It could also be, I'm living at a time when insecurity has kept my people on their knees. That is, emotional enough for him to shed tears. So that he cried should not take away. Give it to Masari in the last 8 years. He has provided leadership for Katsina at a very tough time.
At a
He's
time,
a non-gentleman.
even during the banditry, when the crisis was just brewing,
And then you can't
offer
compare
some form of amnesty to the bandits.
You can also still not compare Katsina to Zamfara. And I'll tell you, I lived in Katsina for 7 years. Katsina has the most porous border in the axis. It has the most porous, because going along GBR Road alone, you could drive for 2 hours without seeing any civilization, and that's on the road towards Nigeria
Republic.
So, but because of his fatherly disposition, he was still able to manage a lot of things. Also, we listened to some of the bandit leaders giving concessions to Katsina. It didn't just come freely. He must have done some underground. Yeah, these are not the kind of things we like hearing. But what happens when the federal police and the national army can no longer provide you with succor? Those in charge are left. The police, the governor does not control the police. Neither can he summon the army. So he's left to do what he can do on the net, on the surface, to bring palliatives.
So
security is not something he has ready control over. Then if you look at the way he has administered the state, Katsina 1999 to 2007 was always in political turmoil. The assembly, the governors, then 2007 to 2015, in fact during the Sherman era. But since he took over, there's been some semblance of political, what will I call it? Calmness in an hitherto state known for political storms. Why I'm not speaking for him, I would say the fact that Masari is an elder actually rubbed off on his administration. For good.
Okay, gentlemen, before we leave this conversation, let's discuss about the man Masari. Beyond the fact that he's the governor of Katsina State at this time, he's also been at the front line of Nigerian politics as a Speaker of the National Assembly. Yeah. What kind of personality do you think Governor Masari is, and what lessons can other governors or those who aspire to become executive governor at the state level, what are the virtues they could imbibe from this person?
Well, he's a politician who I think understands his art. Yeah, at the House of Representatives, he was able to handle crisis in a way that portrayed him as being knowledgeable enough, of the terrain, because there was a lot of pressure from the presidency. There was a lot of pressure from within the party, his party at the time, PDP. There was a lot of pressure from within the National Assembly, the House of Representatives. But somehow he had a way of bringing his colleagues together and presenting an independent front, showing the world that surely he was in charge of issues. So, yeah, definitely he's quitting the political stage. Maybe, of course, maybe realizing that age is catching up on him, or perhaps he has other pursuits, he has other things,
other personal
he wants to go and pursue. Yeah, so
let's quickly wrap up with this. What lessons can be learned from
at whatever time you find yourself in office, do the best you can for your people, because, like you said when you're opening this discussion, a time will come you will have to leave. That's why he's leaving office today as governor. He's going. He will become an elder statesman. Someone else will take charge, and he can only suggest. He can only advise. That's a big lesson for all of us. At every point in time, change will come.
So you don't have all the time. Whatever time you have now, you use it to make impact. And of course, history will vindicate you. Well, let's take a break at this point in time. We're back. It's still Journalist Hangout.
Good afternoon, sir. Please, I need a room to rent in your house.
Okay, where do you work?
I'm the nurse.
That means you won't owe me rent. Congratulations, young lady. You have yourself a house.
Well, thank you so much, sir. So, how much is the rent?
90,000 naira. Oh, but wait, where are you from?
I am from Akamata.
Akamata what? Akamata in my house? If you know how you got into my house, please get out right away. My spirit and that of Akamata people don't have anything to do together.
Sir, what have I done?
Your people from Akamata are known for bad things. That is what they represent, and you can't live in my house. Just get out right away.
What's going on?
Leave my house, young lady. Yes, our differences extend to our languages, culture, food, and even belief. But we are bound together by the cord of love. With one heart, with one voice, we will make Nigeria a hub of greatness, a place where the people live as one.
This message is brought to you from the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD, with support from the UK government.
Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the presidential candidate of the ruling All Progressives Congress (APC) in the coming 2023 elections in Nigeria. With a solid background in corporate accounting, consultancy, pro-democracy activism, political career and achievements as a two-term governor of Lagos State and his role as the national leader of the ruling political party, Asiwaju is a great icon in the political and democratic stage in Nigeria. However, With the unethical activities of his political opponents and recent campaign of calumny by these elements, it is now time to set the record straight and put a final end to these false allegations. This is a true story for all Nigerians to know that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu clearly has no prior criminal convictions. The documents released by the Northern District of Illinois headquarters in Chicago on a narcotic trafficking and money laundering in an early 1990s case in Chicago, USA, did not indict Asiwaju. A U.S. federal judge subsequently dismissed the matter with prejudice on the 21st of September 1993, which effectively foreclosed the matter from being litigated again by all parties. In legal terms, a dismissal with prejudice means the ruling is a final judgment in the case. This dismissal prohibits the prosecutor from refiling the charges anywhere. With this foreclosure, these charges cannot be brought against Asiwaju in any other court of law worldwide. On the 4th of February 2003, the U.S. Embassy in Nigeria, in response to inquiries by Nigerian police force, wrote a letter to the then Inspector General Mr. Tafa Balogun and stated that the Federal Bureau of Investigation (FBI) and the National Crime Information Center (NCIC) had conducted record checks and the results were negative for any criminal arrest records, warrants or warrants for Bola Ahmed Tinubu. With the U.S. clearance of any criminality, this campaign of calumny against Asiwaju has no basis. The recent visit of the U.S. government officials to Asiwaju's presidential campaign office in Abuja, amongst other countries' ambassadors, further consolidates this position of truth. Let's end this distraction to Nigeria's democratic future and focus on supporting the only man whose track records clearly show that he is the most experienced and qualified man to lead Nigeria in 2023. It should not be surprising that Asiwaju is the target of all these insults, abuses and campaign of calumny because he is the man to beat. He is a main contender for the Nigerian presidency because he stands head and shoulders far above any other contender. And because of his political success, his track record of achievements, his acknowledged vision, his remarkable knowledge and his unparalleled courage, he becomes the object of envy and jealousy by perennial political failures and fraudulent interlopers in the Nigerian political space. But Asiwaju, by the grace of God and the well wishes of the vast majority of Nigerians, remains unstoppable. He is fully committed to the renewed hope of Nigerians for a greater nation. Vote wisely. Vote for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu as president in the 2023 elections.
Asking the difficult.
All right, welcome back. It's still Journalist Hangout, and we're still looking at trending topical issues from across the country. Well, in politics, slandering and name-calling are weapons that are sometimes deployed to achieve an individual's set goal. Recently, the Kano State Governor, Abdullahi Ganduje, has dismissed the new Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, and People's Democratic Party as no threats to the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, ahead of the 2023 general elections. The Kano State #1 man tagged the presidential candidate of the NNPP, Rabiu Kwankwaso, and PDP chieftain Ibrahim Shekarau as nomadic politicians who lose followers while junketing from one party to another. That is not a surprise when politicians throw jibe at one another, but we've seen many calls for modesty or moderation in how these banters are done ahead of the 2023 elections. How would you describe the action of Governor Ganduje in describing these respected politicians in the state as nomadic politicians?
I don't want to attach too much importance to that. They are politicians. They say things about themselves. Tomorrow somebody is going to call Ganduje himself a nomadic politician, and you'll be wondering, oh, he said that. But the choice of words that politicians use is usually momentary. We've seen people talk so terribly about somebody, and tomorrow they find themselves in the same political party. And he began to explain what he was trying to say there, and you look at him and you wonder, is it that English now has new meanings? But it's not in politics. You see, if we begin to clamp down on things as sublime as this, they won't say anything. No. And the theatrics in politics requires that people talk. The verbal exchanges are part of, the beauty of the exchange. I mean, the politicking itself. Yes, it should be subtle. Don't cross the line. Know what to say. We saw somebody dragging in someone else's daughter into a Twitter exchange 2-3 days ago, and the other gentleman had to tell him that I thought our children are out of bounds in discourse, and people came in and reordered the discussion, and they shouldn't be doing. But when it comes to looking at, have you forgotten that at a point in time, these people, Kwakwanso and Ganduje, were in PDP. Mm-hmm. They left PDP together for APC. Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso eventually left Ganduje back in APC, moved to PDP. And from PDP, he moved to NMPP. That's nomadic in nature, actually. I don't see that as abusive. That's quite nomadic. That's a lot of movement. It's a lot of movement. So the governor may not be too wrong. I'm talking about Shekarau. He was in NMPP, joined them in PDP, found his way to APC briefly too, went back to PDP with Kwakwanso, and today he's back in PDP. Isn't that some movement too? So don't forget that these are politicians. Tomorrow, if Ganduje himself have a good reason to leave APC, he will become nomadic too. And it won't be an abuse if someone else tells him, oh, you are a nomadic politician. But what we should watch out for is there are certain lines
that should be maintained,
that should not be crossed. And so far it is these banters. I see this as mere banters. You will see headlines coming out of this for we journalists. All right,
Emeka, let's look at, Dario has done well to establish the facts around this, but let's look at the implication this may have on the polity, especially for the large followers that these politicians have in Kano State in particular. Is this likely to create a kind of tension between the followers, which could result in some sort of violence ahead of the elections?
Well, what politicians can, the extent to which they can go to stir up, to incite violence, is only, I mean, you just can't imagine it. Is it the same Ganduje who stepped on, is it Kwankwaso's poster? Was it Shakarau's poster at an event, Democracy Day event some years ago? Is it the same Ganduje who has been behind the scenes begging Kwankwaso and Shakarau to come back to APC and support him? Now, out of frustration because he has not been able to get them back, he's now calling them migratory or whatever nomadic politicians. How many politicians in Nigeria have not moved from one platform to the other? Even those in APC. When they're in other parties and they move to APC, everybody in politics is a nomad. You don't sit in one place and say, oh, you won't move unless maybe you don't have a key. You don't attach. Okay, if you have an ambition, unless you don't have an ambition, you're just a party man. Fine, but it will get to an extent where you feel I cannot take this anymore, and you move. There's no law against it. Is there any part of the Electoral Act that says you cannot move from one party to the other? There is no politician today, even beginning from President Muhammadu Buhari, who has not moved from one party to the other. I think let's look more at issues. Let's look more at issues, and then let's deal with debates that will enrich the national discourse. We have insecurity, we have fuel scarcity, we have so many things bothering us, and you are telling us that somebody is a nomadic politician. If he's interested, but the same man, Kwankwaso, made you his running mate in 1999 to 2003. Then when he lost and went back, when he ran again some years back, he still brought you back. Come on. Let's stop all these things. You know, it doesn't speak well.
But I mean, the message, I mean, we want to reiterate on this platform is for the electorates and their supporters not to enable this to become an issue for violence.
It does not even go near it. It is when we, the observers or analysts, now start helping them to put fuel. You see, I would just want to appeal to everybody. These gentlemen are friends.
They meet by night behind closed doors.
You said he's begging them to come back. Is he begging them through Twitter?
No.
So that's how they meet.
So
we should not help them escalate this issue. He said they are nomad. So, and he's asking them to come back. So when they come back, it will still be a nomadic movement. All right. Well, it is politics, and we shouldn't dwell too much on what they tell themselves.
All right, of course, it's still Journalist Hangout. We're going to break shortly, and when we return, we discuss the new Nigerian naira notes. Yeah, that's for the 1,500 and 200, which was unveiled by the president earlier today. Have you seen the notes? We have it coming up after this break.
The President commissioned the Deep Blue project in June 2021, and we are proud today to inform Nigeria and indeed the world that since the commissioning took place, there hasn't been a single reported case of piracy in Nigeria's exclusive economic zone. With this impressive record, we are preparing to challenge the war zone insurance burden on Nigeria-bound ships by the international shipping community. Now, the Deep Blue project has air assets made up of 2 special mission aircrafts for surveillance of the exclusive economic zone. It has 3 special mission helicopters for search and rescue, and also has 4 unmanned aerial vehicles.
This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Showing up in style inspires great confidence. IVM G5T appeals to class.
Time is of the essence. With IVM Kappa, business and meetings are always on the go.
Fun time with the family. Thank you to IVM Kingdom. IVM carries always stealing the show. Isn't she beautiful? Influence defines a great leader. IVM Seriki is Africa's commute king. Strong, reliable, and durable. With the concept of regionalization, Innocent Vehicle is committed to satisfying its customers with producing their everyday dream cars.
IVM, pride of African roots.
All right, welcome back. It's still Journalist Hangout on TVC News, and of course we're eating the home stretch. But before that, we'll discuss the newly redesigned Nigerian naira notes. According to the Thesaurus Dictionary, money is any circulating medium of exchange, including coins, notes, and demand deposits. Well, earlier today, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari unveiled the long-anticipated, newly redesigned naira notes. The unveiling marks the first time in 19 years that the country will be redesigning its currency.
With unconfirmed reports saying at least 52 billion naira in cash has been deposited in banks within 2 weeks of the announcement. The president at the currency's unveiling says it was printed locally by the printing and minting company and should help the country address challenges of illicit financial flows, corruption, and improve the value of the naira. The naira redesign is the first of its kind in 20 years. Lara Folayo, TVC News, Abuja.
Well, let me ask the gentleman in the studio first. What's your impression about those newly designed naira notes? Not much of a difference, but I think the color scheme is changing. But one interesting thing the Apex Bank is saying is that this cannot be counterfeited.
Wow, that must be a world record, because even the dollar with all the security features, it's regularly counterfeited. I mean, the US Secret Service has to, regularly trace counterfeiters of the dollar around the world.
Maybe the demand for naira makes it less of
who is demanding
a subject.
Even in Nigeria,
less of a subject for counterfeit.
No.
But what's your impression of the newly redesigned note?
Yes,
do you think
it's interesting? I was old enough when then General Head of State Muhammadu Buhari changed the naira notes. I was old enough to have helped my father go to the central bank, sat down, and I helped him exchange some old notes for new notes. And thank God I'm alive again. I'm alive to witness another currency change, which is very interesting. But you see,
hope you will take your son along.
My son is not as old as I was then. But, the interesting thing is that, yes, we know the government has put out some reasons why it decided to change this. But, human nature is dynamic. It's not just about changing the naira notes for whatever reasons, but it's about making sure that change has an impact on the life of the ordinary Nigerian on the street. So you can't just change naira notes. I understand they spent about 100 billion naira to change naira notes. When you've not been able to pay ASU and some other sectors. So I think
that's a conversation.
You should make sure that, because even the new naira notes.
Look at the president. The president seems to admire the notes.
Yeah, but Nigerians on the streets. What was the reaction of Nigerians on the streets? They are not impressed.
You can't go to all streets of Nigeria.
Well, we've not seen Nigerians on the street have not seen the money yet.
They are just seeing it today.
We're just seeing it on the TV screen. But the CBN has said that this money will be in circulation before the 15th of December. So that means it should move around in the next few weeks. But let's talk about the responsibilities of Nigerians in protecting our legal tender. The CBN has made this effort, as diverse as the opinions may be, but the responsibility is on Nigerians who hold every piece of this legal tender to protect it.
Yeah, then we've been saying that a lot more responsibility is on the government to ensure that Nigerians respect and protect the naira. If there are no consequences for disrespecting the naira or abusing the naira, then nobody will take the pain to go the extra mile to protect it. We talk about how we handle naira in the past. Government come up with policies and statements. Then before you know it, even within government circles, the abuses resume. If we still continue to, spray naira notes and trample on top of it, the 1,000 naira I'm seeing on TV came out a bit more beautiful than the other one. It's looking bleached to me, as if they just bleached the color and added some razzmatazz.
Maybe the cameras are bleached cooking oil.
I think it looks good.
But I think talking about protecting the naira, the people should have a responsibility to. But government should do more to make the people. You see, let me tell you, naturally, even you see people, I've seen people spraying dollar, but the caution with which they spray dollar, I've not seen somebody throwing dollar like this. US dollar, they have it, they want to spray it here in Nigeria at party. Carefully. There is that care.
They have this respect.
There is that respect. Thank you. So Nigerians, the way the receiver is grabbing the dollar, you will see that there is respect. But when they start, especially 100 naira note, oh my God, some people now use something that look like a fan. Blow it away. If we continue to treat naira that way, even if we redesign 50 times a year, it will still not have enough value.
Well, one thing the Apex governor, bank governor, that's Governor Emefiele, also emphasized during the unveiling is that the CBN is now more than ever determined to establish a cashless economy. How would this redesign note help Nigeria's economy? In the last few weeks, the banks have witnessed a surge in deposits, which is good, more liquidity. But now that the new notes are coming, would we go back to the old way after a short while?
No, well, in my opening remarks, I talked about the average Nigerian on the street, the retailers on the street, the market women, the commercial transport operators. Are you now going to ask them to start using apps, to start using cash or POS? So you want to pay your bus fare, you have to put your card in a POS and all of that. These things need to be sorted out. And then you must drill down to the grassroots in all of these things you're doing. And then you must deal with kidnapping, which definitely government has said it's one of the reasons why it's changing this note. You must make sure that what you promise Nigerians, you fulfill it. Don't just come out, change the naira note, and in a matter of 6 months, 1 year, we're back to business as usual.
All right, Dario, let me have your final take on this. The naira notes are coming, and how should Nigerians get ready for this and the likely economic implications?
Well, things will play out, because I'm not an expert in any of this economics or banking or money. But I believe that taking a cue from what the CBN governor said, things will play out. Nigerians should just follow the directives. Don't allow huge amount of the old naira notes with you expire. Let me use that word. Don't forget to bring them out. Take them to the bank and get new ones. If you have to do enough transactions now to, spend some, but you can simply take them to the bank, make deposits into your account. When you need them, you will be...
And you explain where you're getting the money from.
Well, that is one of the reasons.
You only just charge them for tax.
That's one of the reasons why we are redesigning. If your own is in volume...
You are coming with a 200 billion naira...
Yeah, then you have to explain why you have so much volume in your... But that is left for the authorities. But as Nigerians, we can only advise them. Don't get caught. Because I remember when General Buhari changed the naira years back, 84, 85. I wasn't too young too. And we recall that months after the closure of the change, some old naira notes were coming out. And we saw lamentations. People who traveled, who brought them out. There were those who kept the money. I remember one old man, my father's tenant. He actually hid the money somewhere. And all through the period when he needed to change it, he couldn't remember. And it was after the change he brought it up.
You should take it to the museum.
Yeah, don't became artifacts, of course. So when you caught with old naira notes still hanging somewhere, take them to the bank, get new ones.
I'm sure some museum operators will buy it from you if it exceeds the period where you're supposed to take it to the bank. Gentlemen, it's nice hanging out with you on today's episode of the Journalist Hangout. We've been hanging out with Emeka Madunagu and Dario Dufowoko. Well, that's today's episode of Journalist Hangout. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can watch a repeat broadcast on this station at 11 p.m. tonight. More importantly, join us on Sunday from 1:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. for an expanded episode of the program Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Emmanuel Akinbuwa. Do have a wonderful evening. God bless Nigeria.
Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the presidential candidate of the ruling All Progressives Congress (APC) in the coming 2023 elections in Nigeria. With a solid background in corporate accounting, consultancy, pro-democracy activism, political career and achievements as a two-term governor of Lagos State and his role as the national leader of the ruling political party, Asiwaju is a great icon in the political and